The sun was a merciless hammer pounding down on the New Mexico territory in that godforsaken summer of 1878, turning the air into a shimmering haze that blurred the line between earth and hell. I was Wyatt Harlan, just another ghost drifting through the canyons. My boots worn thin from years of running from memories that wouldn't die. That mining collapse back in Mexico still clawed at my gut good men buried alive. Because greedy bosses cut corners, and me, the fool who wouldn't parrot their lies in court. I walked away with my honor intact, but it cost me everything: friends, family, trust in anyone wearing a badge or swinging a pickaxe. Now, I rode alone, my mare, Bess, kicking up dust on a trail that promised nothing but more empty miles. But fate's got a wicked sense of humor. One minute, I'm scanning the jagged rocks for any sign of water. The next, the world explodes in gunfire. Bullets ricochet off the canyon walls like angry hornets, one grazing my hat brim close enough to singe my hair. Ambush, I snarled under my breath, yanking Bess's reins hard as she reared in terror. My heart slammed against my ribs like a trapped animal outlaws had to be, lurking in the shadows of those red cliffs. I ducked from the saddle, hitting the dirt hard, rolling behind a boulder just as another shot chipped stone inches from my face. Bess bolted, her hoofs thundering away into the haze, leaving me stranded with nothing but my revolver and a prayer I hadn't uttered in years. I pressed my back against the cool rock, sweat stinging my eyes, and peered out. 3 shadows up on the ridge, rifles glinting in the sun. Rustlers, maybe, or bounty hunters mistaking me for someone with a lead. Didn't matter. I drew my Colt, the weight familiar like an old grudge, and squeezed off to shots. The first missed, kicking up sand. The second found its mark. One of them yelped, clutching his shoulder, tumbling from his perch like a sack of flour. The others cursed, their voices echoing raw and vicious across the canyon. Get the bastard? One hollered, but I was already moving, scrambling deeper into the arroyo. My boots slipping on loose gravel, adrenaline burned through me, sharp as whiskey. But underneath it lurked the old fear, the one that whispered I was always one step from joining those miners in the dark. I fired again, covering my retreat, the revolver's bark drowning out my ragged breaths. They were closing in, but I knew this land better than most. I'd outrun worse. Dust choked the air as I fled, my mind racing faster than my legs. Who were they? What did they want? And why now, when all I craved was solitude? The gunfire faded behind me, but the chase wasn't over. I pressed on, weaving through the dry wash, until something caught my eye. Fresh blood splattered on the parched earth, trailing off toward a cluster of boulders. Scattered gear lay nearby, a torn satchel, a broken canteen. My instincts screamed to keep moving, but something deeper pulled me in. Curiosity? Or maybe that nagging guilt that had dogged me since Mexico. The one that said walking away from suffering made me no better than those bosses. I approached cautious, revolver at the ready. There, slumped against the rocks, was a woman, Native American, Apache from the look of her dark hair matted with sweat. Fierce eyes locked on me like a cornered wolf. A deep gash ran along her side, blood soaking her buckskin shirt, but she gripped a makeshift knife, her knuckles white. She was trembling, but not from fear. No, this was a fighter, betrayed and bleeding but unbroken. Back off, she warned. Her voice clipped, English twisted with the rhythm of her native tongue. It hit me like a gust of wine, strong, unyielding, laced with pain she wouldn't show. I froze, hands rising slow. Easy there. Ain't here to add to your troubles. My words came out steady, but inside, my thoughts tumbled. Who was she? What kind of hell had she escaped to end up like this? In this territory, a woman like her marked by her heritage faced dangers I could only guess at. Prejudice ran deeper than these canyons, white seeing Apaches as threats or savages, never people with stories of their own. She eyed me like I was a snake coiled to strike. But when I pulled a clean bandana from my saddlebag, Bess was long gone. But I grabbed what I could. She didn't flinch. Here, I said, tossing it gentle. Press it hard. Stop the bleeding. Her gaze narrowed, suspicion carving lines in her face, but she snatched it up, clamping it to her wound with a hiss. Why, she demanded, her breath shallow. Men like you don't stop for the likes of me. Men like me. The words stung, echoing the judgments I'd faced myself. Drifter, coward, the guy who wouldn't play the game. But there was truth in it. This land chewed up kindness and spat out bones. Still, leaving her felt wrong, like abandoning those miners all over again. Because I've seen enough folks left to die, I muttered, lowering my hands. And I ain't adding to that tally today. The sun dipped lower, painting the rocks in bloody hues, and dusk crept in like a thief. We couldn't stay exposed. Those outlaws might circle back, or worse, whatever hunted her could find us both. There's a cleft up ahead, I suggested, nodding toward a shadow crack in the canyon wall. Hidden, good for a fire without drawing eyes. She hesitated, weighing me like a bad bet, but nodded once, sharp. I helped her up, her hands strong in mine despite the weakness, and we moved slow, her leaning just enough to show she trusted me not to let her fall. The cleft was narrow, walls closing in like secrets, and I built a low fire, stones circling it to hide the glow. Flames flickered, casting uneasy shadows that danced across her face, highlighting the pride in her eyes, the scars of battles I couldn't imagine dot as the night deepened. Tension hung thick between us. She called herself Alara, the name rolling off her tongue like a challenge. I shared mine, Wyatt, and little else at first, but the fire coaxed words out, slow and reluctant. What happened back there? I asked, poking the coals. Her eyes darkened. Rustlers hired me to track cattle, then turned when I wouldn't steal with them. Slashed me, left me for the coyotes. Her voice held no self-pity, just fact. But I caught the flicker of betrayal in it, echoing my own from that mine. I nodded, understanding more than I let on. I've known betrayal. Down in Mexico, a mine caved 'cause bosses skimped on supports. Killed my brother and others. They wanted me to lie, say it was fate. I wouldn't. Been drifting since. She studied me, firelight reflecting in her eyes like stars in a stormy sky. Drifting's lonely. Why not fight back? The question hit hard, stirring that guilt again. Fighting costs more than running sometimes, but even as I said it, I wondered if she was right. Her presence stirred something in me, a pull toward connection I'd long ignored. We shared what little jerky I had, the silence broken by the desert's whispers, wind through rocks, distant howls. Alara winced as she shifted, and I saw the wound needed stitching. Let me, I said, pulling thread and needle from my kit. She tensed, but allowed it, her breath hitching as I worked. My hands, rough from years of hard living, were gentle on her skin, warm, alive under my touch. It was intimate, too much so for strangers, and I felt a spark, unspoken, like the first raindrop in a drought. Why help? She murmured, pain edging her words. 'Cause maybe saving one life makes up for the ones I couldn't. My voice cracked just a bit, memories flooding back. Her eyes met mine, and in that moment, amid the pain and firelight, I saw not just a survivor, but a woman whose strength mirrored my hidden vulnerabilities. It scared me, that pull, defying the walls I'd built die as the fire died low. I kept watch, revolver close. Alara dozed fitful, her face softening in sleep, revealing a beauty hardened by loss. I thought of my brother, feverish in his last days, begging me to stay strong. And her had she lost kin to? The night stretched, filled with what-ifs. What if those rustlers returned? What if this chance meeting shattered my solitude for good? Dawn cracked the sky gray, and with it came the first real test. Hoofbeats echoed distant, growing closer. My pulse quickened pursuers, 3 riders cresting the ridge, scanning the arroyo like hounds on a scent. I doused the embers quick, pulling Alara into the shadows. Stay low, I whispered, my hand on her arm, protective. They rode near, one dismounting to poke at our tracks. My finger hovered on the trigger, every muscle coiled. Shoot now, and we'd be marked. Wait, and they might spot us. Alara's gaze locked on mine, steady, urging patience. Not yet, she breathed, her wisdom born from generations of 1800s. I held back, heart thundering, and they moved on, grumbling. Relief washed over me as they faded. But so did a new awareness her calm had saved us. We broke camp fast, heading east on hidden trails. I offered Bess a saddle weight. No, Bess had bolted in the ambush. Damn, we'd have to walk, sharing the load. But as we moved, conversations flowed easier. Lost my sister to fever last winter, she said, voice soft. She was the light in our camp, my brother in the mine. I replied, throat tight. He'd laugh at me now, tying myself to trouble. Shared grief bridged us, defying the prejudices that said a white drifter and an Apache woman couldn't connect. We stumbled on an abandoned wagon midday, wheels sunk in sand. Salvaging campeches in a lantern, Alara divided a fair half for each. Her fairness chipped at my lone ways, planting respect. As heat bore down, she pointed out coyote prints. Water scarce ahead. Follow the shadows. Her knowledge clashed with my gun skills. But together, it felt right, complementary. Against a world that divided us by blood dot, then came the second peril, Thunder rumbled sudden, and a flash flood roared through the wash like a beast unleashed. Water surged, sweeping our packs. I grabbed her hand, pulling her to higher ground, our bodies pressed close in the torrent. Soaked, shivering under an overhang, I stripped bark for fire while she tended my knuckles, her fingers lingering. That touch ignited sparks and spoken desire amid chaos, pulling me toward her despite everything. Stars emerged, and I confessed, guilt keeps me moving. Couldn't save them, she countered. I fled my tribe after the raid. Regret eats at me, vulnerabilities wove us tighter, healing beginning in whispers. We reached a derelict outpost at twilight, barricading in. Inside, maps and a shotgun sparked her dream. Reclaim what's ours. It challenged my drifting, hinting at a future. But midnight brought the third threat. Rustlers ambushed, guns blazing. I rolled, firing back with grit, shielding her. Back off or die trying. I roared, winging one. Alara blasted with a shotgun, her ferocity matching mine. We fled horseback. Wait, we'd found strays? No. In the chaos, we mounted their horses, bullets clipping rocks. My quick draw felled another, tension pushing our bond to unbreakable. Wounded, we bound injuries under moonlight, her touch lingering, hinting at love-defying barriers. Days blurred, digging water, hunting. Her Apache story softened me, romance simmering like embers.